January the 17th. I just welcome my students to the class, virtual class, I should say, and I'm gonna be going to be sharing my screen momentarily. You can see everything that I'm gonna be doing on my monitor. If you have any questions, simply raise your hand. I don't mind even if you kind of say something or whatever. Interrupting me is okay. I can hear you as long as I'm not in the middle. It's important. I don't mind if you chime in and ask a question, of course. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I will explain a lot of questions if you do have any, like the assignment, for example, it's due today. Some of you asked me if it's okay to hand it in with a discussion board. And my answer for that was no, because that was just a quick test on how this design discussion boards work. The real submission is with Blackboard. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. Maybe we didn't really cover it too thoroughly last week. So I'm going to explain that to you. And then also we're going to jump into the second exercise for the class. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen now. Before I do that, I want to let me just see all of you here. I do have to see a good number of you show up. Any questions so far? You can ask me a question before I start. Maybe in the future, what I'll do is I won't hit the record button until we do like a one-on-one or something, and then I'll hit the record. I kind of jumped the gun there, but that's okay. Any questions so far? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm going to share my screen. You should see my entire desktop. All right. So here we are. I was just mentioning how the virtual class link was updated. I think ours is fine. The other class, I had to relink it to the portal. So we'll keep it as is. We don't have to update it every week. It's good to go. Just simply click here to join our class. Hope you got your subscription already for the Adobe Creative Cloud. That's something very important that you need, not just for this class, but for the other classes as well. So that's something else we covered last week. We also covered the course outline and the critical path. All right, so make sure you kind of follow up on what's due for the assignments and for the projects that are coming up. The best way I mentioned last week was to keep a track of your calendar. So if you go to the calendar setting over here, you can do this in a general sense from like the main page, or we can do it from the specific class itself. If I go to the month view, for example, you can still see here that today the color abstract exercise is due. And you can see another assignment that's due at the end of the month. It's the photo restoration. I like to use this calendar in a more uniform fashion where you can just exit to the main course page in your Blackboard. And from there, you can click on the calendar here on the left tab. This will give you like a bird's eye view of all your assignments that are due in case you want to get like a good outlook on everything. You can click on the month and you can see here some of the other classes that I teach. For example, my web development class, and then I also have another class for UX UI design as well. So you can see here all my assignments are grouped together within the month, and you can do the same thing for your classes as well. So you can go ahead and get a quick glance on what's due, what's coming up, as well as the holidays and important events that happen at Humber as well. All right, so that's a good way to see everything. Now let's go back to our class here. We did do a discussion board. We're not going to do this every week, but now and then when it's necessary, especially for you to get, part of the community and acquainted with the class and your classmates, we do have the modules here. And under module 1, I did set up the abstract exercise challenge. And I did notice some of you, even after I finished the class, you did submit your wonderful abstract design. I was quite happy and pleased to see all of you contribute. Very well done, all of you. Some really wonderful artwork stuff. You know, it's amazing how they all look very unique and different in such a way that kind of creates a very unique individual design. Okay, so nicely done, everyone. I can never get tired of this because I do this all the time on the first day, and it's just amazing how the wonderful abstract comes together. And you can try so many different things in combinations with this, but the good thing is we did it all from scratch. We used one layer, like a flat artboard. We didn't use any images. Okay, it was strictly done from scratch using the software. And also, it covered a lot of important techniques, especially in the beginning level, like selections, adding, subtracting selections, adding color, controlling different fill attributes, as well as changing the colors in some situations. We were also able to select the colors in the selections, modify them, and we added some filters at the end. It was a distort filter, I believe, that we made the twirl happen to kind of mix all the colors together and finalize our abstract design. So it was a nice way, a good finishing touch, I should say, the way this was executed. So nicely done. So I hope you enjoy that basic introduction. Today we're going to get into using some more selection methods from basic to intermediate, and you can say advanced as well, because a lot of the professionals like to use the very same techniques. So if you dive into the Module 2 class today, and I'm going to release Module 3 and all the exercise files that are coming up for next week, Module 2 is where we're at today, okay? Before I head into the Module 2, I wanted to bring up one more important point, and that's for the assignment. So the assignment is due. So please don't confuse this. I know I asked you to submit what we did last week with this design discussion. That was just a good challenge for you to get your feet wet. Some of you, or most of you, perhaps decided to do this again, or you can submit the exact same thing. I don't mind if you submit the same thing that you did here and your assignment that's due today as well. So it could be the same thing. If you want to take it a step further and do something different, that's fine as well. So that's going to be submitted right with Blackboard. And how do you do that? You simply click on your gradebook. Okay. You click on your assignment. In this case, it's the color abstract exercise. So if I click on that, I think you can click on the same thing. You should see the actual brief. The brief is, and I do apologize if I didn't really cover this a lot. I mean, I know I did it with you, but I didn't really read it out and stuff. Usually I tend to do that just to clarify things and answer some questions if you have any. So just to kind of go over it one more time, because it is due tonight. So even if we finish the class and you want to take some extra time to hand this in, I don't mind. It is the first assignment anyways. So for this exercise or assignment, I should call it, you will be designing a multicolored design composition done in Photoshop in order to create an abstract design. Using basic selections and color fill techniques should be enough for you to demonstrate this creative skill. Saving a PSD, which is a Photoshop format, as a final submission should be good to hand in. 8 inches, but 8 inches is the artboard size, which is an RGB color mode. I believe we used like 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels. So even if you missed the criteria, that's fine. I'm sure it's pretty similar in the aspect ratio or the size. So I'm just looking more like for you to get comfortable with handing things in on time and knowing how to utilize our Blackboard system. Use as many possible selection methods that you learned. Use as many colors as you see fit to finish the design. And a Photoshop format is what you hand in. And for the most project and exercises, I'm going to require a Photoshop format. For some parts, however, later on, I may be more specific, like a PNG or a GIF or a JPEG. I'll make sure I specify that in the criteria. Okay, so the assignments that you're going to get, or the exercise assignments, they're quite small, okay? And they're only due out of 3 points. So easy 3 points for you. And this is how you hand it in. So you simply click on the attempt over here or your submission, and you click on the submit button, and that's how you can submit the assignment, okay? Alrighty, so this is your first, I know it says exercise, but it's part of the assignment as well, so I kind of put it all together. All right, so that's due today. The next one that's going to be due is the photo restoration assignment. We'll talk about that, I think, later on. Even next week, I'm going to give you that one because you do have some time for this one as well. All right. And it is an exercise and an assignment because it just monitors your progress and your participation with the class because we're doing it online virtually. So that's why these are part of the exercises are part of the assignments, but not everything. Some of the stuff I'm going to do as an exercise doesn't necessarily mean you hand in. You only hand in what's here classified as an assignment, which might kind of coincide with the exercise as well, because I always show you everything how it's done. So it's a good way to demonstrate and execute what you've learned. All right. I have to update these dates as well. They're a little older, so let's worry about the first items here. Okay, so let's go back here again. So we're going to now, so yeah, just to quickly, another way to do it is go to calendar, okay, go to month, click on whatever's due. It might take you to another page. You just have to click on it again, and that's another quick way to access your projects, and you can submit it from here. I just don't have a student view, so I can't see what you see, but I believe you should have a little button that says submit right here, okay? All right, so now that's done. If you have any questions, please let me know, but that's pretty straightforward, and this is for all your classes. You're going to get assignments and exercises or projects for the other classes. I'm sure your other teachers will tell you the same thing, to use Blackboard to hand in your assignments. And of course, we give you like a brief feedback. Some of the bigger projects will give you a bigger feedback based on some of the criteria and technical points. And this is how we're going to roll through the semester. All right. So let's go through the class module now, and I'm going to ask you if you have any questions first before I continue, because today we're going to do module 2, basic and intermediate selections. This is where you should have this visible by now. I did make it visible to you because before it was hidden, so I have to always release the visibility so you can see it. And I'm also going to ask you to this is just an example, so you don't have to even click on this. If you do, you'll see what we're going to be creating, which is good to get a reference point. So maybe I will select it. I'll save it onto my desktop. What you're going to be using for these next several weeks is I have a resource folder for you to dive into, and that's down here under class exercises. Sorry, it's over here actually. Resources. On the very bottom, you'll have a resources folder. I'm going to ask you to download the layers and selections tab. So please do this right now. So at the very bottom, under the course page here, which is the Photoshop course, at the very bottom, you open up the resource tab and you click on layers and selections. Once that's selected, you can see two different files. You can get them both if you wish, but the first one we're going to work with is selections. I know they're not in order. I think it's alphabetical. So first the selections, and then we'll use the layers file. So let's download the selections.zip by simply clicking on the far right edge of the tab here, and simply go to download original file. So if you do that, you can download each individual item here. There's only two. This zip file will extract and show you other files that I have organized in there within folders. So we'll go ahead and save this onto the desktop. We need this in order to start today's exercise as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And I encourage everyone to do this with me. All right. And now I'm going to go back to the folder here and show you what this selection zip file looks like. To extract it, you simply double click. If you have a PC, I believe you have to right click and extract it in the designated location. I'm just going to simply double click here. I'm using a Mac. All right, and then you have the selections folder show up. The other file I downloaded earlier looks like this. This is the result of what we're going to be creating. We used to do other similar techniques, but this one's very good. It's a great learning curve, especially for those of you that have never used Photoshop before, or those of you that haven't used Photoshop in a while and you need a good refresher. This is a great exercise to get familiar with all the selection methods available. It's like a storytelling procedure. And if you open the folder here, you have selecting starts, cutouts, selecting cast, and rip. There's 4 different folders in the selection folder. Let's start by opening the first one up. And this way you'll get the actual contents for this exercise. So from this, we're going to be creating this basically, right? So we're gonna have a lot of fun doing this and we're gonna learn at the same time. And I'm a strong believer in those two things. This is your PDF alongside all these different tutorials that I'm gonna give you virtually because we're doing this, online and stuff. It's important that you have a good reference, especially for the beginning. It's good that I provide you some PDFs. And this PDF has all the different steps and objectives that's going to be taking part in our exercise, okay? I don't have one for last week because that was like a free-for-all kind of do what you want file. This one is more technical, so we're going to start with all the steps here. And I don't follow this right to the T. I might, kind of add some more stuff or modify it slightly, but the main premise is the same. So all the stuff that you're learning is all here step by step. If you're a type of person that enjoys reading and following steps and stuff, like from textbooks and CDs, then this is the right assignment for you. Not only I'm going to demonstrate to do it on a live virtual session as we're doing right now, I'm also recording it and I'm giving you a PDF handout to read it step by step. So you have everything that you need right in front of you. All you have to do is attend and do your part. All right, so I do have this for most of the assignments coming up. And this is the Photoshop file. This is how we start the exercise. Another important part is not just putting this thing together. It's also saving it properly, saving the right format, and cropping the image. As a matter of fact, all the criteria points are here. This is why this is one of my favorite beginner exercises for you because it covers all these different objectives. Now that you're a little warmed up from last week, now we're ready to take it to the next level. So for example, today we're going to select parts of an image using a variety of tools. We're going to cover all the selection tools today. This is where we get that out of the way. And then we cover the advanced stuff coming up. Reposition a selection marquee or other selection points. Deselecting selections is just as important as selecting selections. So that's something that we're going to address. Move and duplicating selections, okay? Constrain the movement of a selection. Choose the area of an image based on proximity of the color of pixels, which is like the magic wand and other tools like that. Adjust a selection with the arrow keys. You can move the selection that way as well. Add and subtract from selections. We did this quite avidly last week, okay, with different parts of the abstract design we made. We added and subtracted from selections by adding color fills. So we'll review that today as well. We're going to rotate, scale, and transform a selection. We're going to combine a variety of selection tools. And lastly, we're going to crop the image to make it a final composition. So this will be an entire objective for today's lesson, and you'll learn all these important things. See, once you learn this, it's a good little, segue for the next parts that we're going to learn and throughout the weeks. By week 4, week 5, you should be pretty comfortable using the software if you haven't used it already. And if you have used Photoshop already, you're going to feel that much more comfortable with it. And hopefully you'll learn something new and exciting from me as well. All right, so this is set up as a starting method here. Then you have the head, the mouth, the eyes. It's like building all the body parts of we used to do a Mr. Potato head. Now we're doing like the melon head from the vegetables and fruits. Then we got the nose, the bow tie, the ears, the hats, and finally we cropped the image. So everything I mentioned here is set up into step-by-steps further down on this PDF. I used to even print this and give it to students, and we would highlight it and check it off and stuff. You can print it if you wish, if you have a home printer. Otherwise, you can just use it as a reference guide right on your file there. Okay, next thing is I want you to open this Photoshop file. So go ahead and simply double click on this file here, please. Just double click. If you double click, it should initiate the program that associated with the extension. In this case, it's a PSD, and that stands for a Photoshop document. So if you double click on that file, it should open up Adobe Photoshop. Another way to open it, alternatively, is to open Photoshop first and then do File Open and open the file from the application. So you can literally trigger the file to open the program, or open the program and then open the file via the software open methods. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and do that one there. Just give me a second here. All right. So here's the file. I'm going to set something up here. Okay. All right. So let me know if you guys already have it open. Everyone's good to go. I'm going to check up on you in a second. Okay. Right. Okay. So let me just quickly go here now and see. So give me a quick oops, I'm gonna go back to this one here. Never mind. I'll go this way. Give me a quick thumbs up if you guys have the file open, ready to go, just so I can see everyone. All right, thank you, thank you. Very good. And I see 23 of you so far. If you haven't got a chance to get the file still, just you can easily catch up. I'm not going to go too fast as I start this thing, but again, just download it from the location here. What I can also do is add it in here under module 2. If you want me to, I can add it here very clearly. I should actually replace this with the start version. Let me do that very quickly right now. I noticed some people are missing. In case they have a hard time catching up, I'm just going to go edit this file and replace it with the one you start with. So I'm going to go to selections and I'm going to replace it with this one. So from now on, when you get this file, you can just start with the exercise right there and then. But I did want you to have the whole slew of files that I'm going to use in the upcoming lessons. So this way you're armed and ready to go. Okay, so this is the new file now. So if you're following me watching this video, you can just simply grab it from the module 2. You can download this file. I'm just going to call this 2 just so it doesn't mess up. Well, actually, start. It's fine. There we go. Okay, so let's get started now. We all have the file, and this is the right file that we're going to have. And I'm going to delete this other one, okay? So we're going to just focus primarily on getting this thing all set up. Very good. Like I said, this is a great beginner file. It's one of my favorites in terms of teaching you how to use proper selections and all the other methods that are involved with this exercise. So first thing I want you to do is basically, let's focus on I could have I should have this invisible, the actual PDF. I can just double click on this and have it on the side. So we can kind of look at the steps together. So I can kind of point you in the right direction. All right. So the first thing is we're going to focus on this orange here. All right, let's see here. There we go. So open the file, there it is. Select start. Select the rectangular marquee tool, draw a rectangle around the melon, Command J. So basically it wants us to extract this on a separate layer. And using Command J is a very good shortcut to learn already, which it's like a copy and paste all in one shortcut. It's one of my favorites as well. So it wants us to literally grab this and copy and paste it to a new layer. So we're going to use the rectangular marquee tool and just draw like a rectangular marquee like this. Notice how I can also move the selection if I'm within it. By pressing copy and paste, let me do that first to demonstrate the Command J significance. So copy, paste. I did the same thing, you see? And I'm going to hide the background layer to show me how the melon looks like, okay? Now, what the handout is referring to teach you a very important shortcut, Command J. So this shortcut was around, a while now. Okay, it came up, I think maybe a lot of versions ago. So if you press Command J, it'll do the same thing as copy and paste. You'll notice another layer show up here on top of your background layer. I also want to stress the importance of having your interface set up like mine. In order to do that, make sure under Window, your workspace, I should go under View, and your workspace here, Window, back to Window, workspace is set up as I have mine saved as January 10th workspace, which we saved last week. But if you want to do Essentials default, that also works, okay? And then you can have your tools set up into one column. It's easier to grasp these tools in a single column, so you can't see anything. All right. You also want to make sure your layer palette is visible, so it takes up a lot of space. Notice how if I double click on all these other side palettes, they uncollapse, and a lot of them are taking up space that we don't really need right now. So if you just kind of go to double click here and double click over here, you have a lot more space for your layers. And this is important because then we have an easier way of approaching this. All right, so looking at this thing here, draw a rectangle. We're gonna go, we're gonna use the magic eraser tool and erase the white background surrounding the melon and rename it head. So basically, we're gonna hide this background layer, and these are how the visibles work in the layers palette. Okay, this means it's locked. Usually the background layer is always locked. Please remember, everything that we're going to be grabbing from here resides in the background layer. So I'm going to be very specific and have you select this layer in order to copy and paste the rest of these selections to create this melon creation. So let's go to this layer now, layer one. Let's double click here. If you double click where the letters are, this is how you rename the layer. So I'm going to call this one head and just click away. The reason I'm pointing these little details out is because it's easy to get lost in the program if you do the wrong thing. Like if I double click here by accident, it's going to give me this pop-up palette, which is the layer styles. We're not going to touch this layer styles until a few weeks from now. So this could get frustrating and confusing if you don't follow the little detail examples I'm showing you. So again, when you double click to rename the layer, do it directly on the text. This way it gives you the chance to rename the layer that way. If you double click anywhere else, it's going to give you the layer styles. If it does, no big deal, just cancel because we're not doing layer styles for this yet. All right, notice how this thumbnail also is increased under panel options. If you click on this little hamburger button here under panel options, I made mine quite large and significant so I can see it nice and clear. You don't have to go all out like this, but it does help visualize the whole thing. So I'm going to keep it large. And also I'm going to hide the background layer just to show you how this rectangular selection not only extracted the watermelon, but the white background that went with it. So I want to get rid of this white background. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the magic eraser tool. And that is located under the the middle of the pack, we'll call it, like where the tools are. And you can see here you have all the selection tools. All the way down here, you'll see something like the eraser tool. Okay, the eraser tool works as well, but you're gonna have to literally do this all day. So you can erase that. There's a lot faster way of deleting stuff, especially if it's like a one color, like in this case, like a white background, which is very common when you get images off the internet. So in that case, we're gonna hold the mouse and select the magic eraser tool. The background eraser tool does also a similar thing that the eraser does, but it just gets rid of locked layers. In this case, um, like if you do it this way, it'll work the way you see it. But if you go to the background layer with the lock on it, it'll do the same thing. So it's like a miscellaneous alternative to the eraser. We're going to use the magic eraser for now. So with the magic eraser tool, we're going to click on the head, click on the background layer, nice and easily, and removes the whole thing just like that. That's why it's called the magic eraser tool. Okay, so now we've successfully deleted the background and we're ready to do the next step. So we're going to make the layer visible again. I'm going to keep it visible from now on, and not just visible, but have it also selected. More importantly, if you don't have this layer selected, you're not going to be able to execute the rest of the steps or the exercise. Okay, so make sure the layer is always selected, and then we can go ahead and do the rest of the things. So now we're going to focus on the mouth. Okay, so it's telling us to go to the tomato, zoom in on the tomato, select the elliptical marquee tool, which we used last week, draw an oval around the tomato. You can use the Command J shortcut. That's going to produce a new layer. And then we're going to rename the layer mouth and reorder the mouth layer above the head and position it accordingly with the move tool and transform it to warp it. So we're going to do all this for the mouth selection now. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the tomato here. Okay, so we're going to go to the tomato, hold the space bar. When you hold the space bar, always gives you the hand, the panning handle hand. This way you can really zoom in to what you want, okay? What matches this shape is an elliptical selection. So we're going to go ahead and hold the mouse on the rectangular. We just did the rectangular for the melon and extracted it and deleted the background. For this one, we'll use the elliptical marquee. I'm going to go ahead and make a selection from here to there. Notice how it's quite larger. All right. That's not perfect, so I'm going to do it again. This time I'll teach you the X and Y method, which means this is the Y axis. This is the X axis. In the most two-dimensional programs, use the X and Y coordinates. And of course, the three-dimensional is called the Z coordinate. And that's how we can do 3D stuff. But now we're looking at this in two-dimensional. So that means if I start about here to make a selection and go about over there, I'm a lot more closer to my target than I was before. You can see how I'm perfecting my selection as well. All right, there's other ways to get selections done. This is not the only way, but I'm just following the steps here, and I promise you I'm going to show you the more fun and advanced stuff as well. I know there's a better way to select a tomato for those of you that have used Photoshop before. So we're going to draw an oval around the tomato. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. There's the oval selection tool. Let me try one more time. I'm going to go slightly inside now. There we go. Okay, so as long as it's fitted inside, you're good to go. Later on, I'll show you how to edit or transform selections. For now, this is good enough. Make sure you're on the background layer. Make sure your oval selection tool is established. And now I'm going to go ahead and press Command J, which is the same as copy and paste. And there it is. And I'm going to rename this mouth. And I'm going to use the move tool. Now, the move tool is very important because the move tool is going to be taking care of all our movements and arrangements of our objects. So if I do Command minus to zoom out, Command plus is zoom in, Command minus is zoom out, I'm going to move the mouth on top of my melon head. But look, it's going in the back, not the front. So why is that? Well, that's because the layer order, the way it's established right now, I have the head on top of the mouth. So I literally have to move the mouth on top of the head like this. So this is how you do the orientation of your layers and objects, whether you're using Illustrator or Photoshop. This is very important. And this classifies your orientation in such a way that everything is arranged on top of one another. So this is how you have now the mouth on top of the head of the melon. I'm also going to show you how to transform this under Edit. This is another important shortcut you might want to note. Free transform is a very, very popular go-to command as well. What happens is when you do the free transform, is you can go ahead and squish this tomato head to a more, um, like a squished format, right? If this is not working for you, you might have to um, hold Shift. Okay. Sometimes I know the default, like if you do this, it's automatically kind of constrained for you. Some of you don't have, I think it's a preference thing, but let's just not worry about it for now. If you're not squishing it the way I am, hold Shift and you're probably getting this, right? So if you're getting this, hold Shift and squish it. If you're not getting that, just do it. First, try it without Shift. If it's giving you a problem, then use Shift. And then you can squish the mouth and make it look like it's got the mouth parts on the melon. I'm going to put it right there. Just move it up a bit. And that's how we're going to situate it on top. Now, before I move to the next step, I'm going to check up on you, making sure everyone's okay. And one
Sorry.
last reminder, always be in the background layer before we move to the next step. So now let me go ahead and answer questions. I hear
I wasn't
somebody in
able
the
to squish
background.
the tomato.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was able to make the tomato, but I can't squish it. Like the four
Huh.
corners that they're not coming.
Okay. So basically, what you want to do is make sure the layer is selected, the mouth tomato layer. You go under Edit and you go under Free Transform or Command T. That's a very good shortcut to learn. Control or Command T. And then you should get the corners that show up. And then you do your transformation. Hold Shift. I think you have to hold Shift to do this. If not, you can just squish it. Press Enter or Return, and it should acknowledge you. Now, here's another thing I want to point out. I don't know if you have this automatically selected. Show transform controls on and off. This check mark here. I like this, but I prefer to have it off as I'm teaching the subject, even learning. It's good to have it off instead of on, just because a lot of you might want to accidentally confuse this with something else. You can either do it this way, or you can just do it from here and activate it with the free transform function or command. I prefer this way just to kind of get acquainted with everything. So nothing's happening at the same time. I believe in simplicity. I don't want to have too many anchor points, selections, nodes, bounding boxes, visible while you're trying to learn something because it just might, distract you from the premise of what we're trying to do. Okay. So I'm going to press escape now. If you want to cancel, press escape. If you want to acknowledge, press return. And that's how we can address this. All right. Now, just to quickly get back to you here, whoever asked me that question. Did you figure it out? Sorry, I didn't get your name. Did it work for you now? The
Yeah, it worked. Thank you.
No problem, Deepak. No problem. All right. So anybody else have a question or everybody else is okay? All right, very good. So let's keep moving forward then. If you do have a question, simply just speak up. I can hear sometimes the microphone in the background is Deepali had a question and I heard her and I was able to focus and stop and address whoever has a question. Okay, so let's go ahead and minimize this as well. The next step is for us to control the eyes. The eyes, we're going to zoom in on the blueberry. We're going to use the elliptical marquee tool and we're going to press shift. Again, based on the new version you might have, you might not have to hold press shift. You might just do it without shift. I'm going to do mine with shift. Okay. We're going to draw a perfect circle around the blueberry. We're going to press Command J, and a new layer with the blueberry is going to be produced. And then we're going to rename this layer Iris. We're going to use the Move tool. We're going to temporarily move it to the white space. And then we're going to go to the orange. And with the elliptical marquee tool, we're gonna shift or just select it, draw a perfect circle, and then we're gonna extract the orange as well. We're gonna name the orange eye. So the blueberry will serve as the iris, which is the darker part in your eye, and the white part is gonna be the eye. The eye and the iris together will look like eyeballs coming out. And we're gonna arrange the layers in such a way so the iris is on top of the eye. And we're gonna use the move tool and place the iris on top. And we're going to link the two layers. I'm going to teach you how to link layers and how to move layers together. And then we're going to merge the linked as well. So we're going to learn how to link layers, merge the link layers, and then we're going to rename the two layers I so they're amalgamated into one layer. We're going to duplicate it from one position, and we're going to create the other eye and create two eyes from the first one. So from one, we're going to make the other, and we're going to link the layers together, and we're going to save the file. So it's about time. I think what I missed to do was I think I skipped the saving process because I want to save. In the beginning, I skipped this step. Save selecting working. So first we have one called start. We're gonna save this so we save our progress basically in case something happens. We always have a backup. So once we do that, we're gonna save this file here. We're gonna call it working PSD. Selecting working PSD. So we just hit save, save, save from now on. Okay. All right, so this is it looks like a lengthy one, but we'll keep it nice and simple and interesting. I just want to make sure I don't miss any steps along the way. So let's save it first. Let's just get this out of the way so we don't forget. Go to File, Save As. Okay, and this is like the most important thing, I think. Because if you don't save the file, your work and your progress will be all for nothing. So I want to make sure all your stuff is saved, your hard work. Always do a Save As. And instead of Start, I'm going to name this last word here, call it working. And then when I'm finished, I'll call it finished. So we have like a beginner file, the start file, the work file, and the finished file. So we might have like 3 versions of it in total. Okay. And the working is going to be saved in the same location. I'm going to hit the save button. And you can see here also how it's addressed by calling itself selecting working. So we know exactly this is the current file that we're working on, work in progress. A lot of professionals call their files WIP, which stands for work in progress. And I use that same thing sometimes when I have files I work on, working file. All right, so whenever we go to the new item, we go to the background layer, we zoom into the next target. I think it wants us to do the blueberry first. So we're going to go all the way here to the blueberry, zoom right in. I'm using Command plus, Command minus. You can use Control plus, Control minus, just to show you there's like a zoom tool right here. Okay. And the zoom tool works well if you click, right? If you go to the minus zoom tool, you can zoom out. I like to use shortcuts. If I click zoom, zoom, if you hold option, it'll switch it to the opposite. So option is zoom out, click is zoom in. Okay. But more importantly, I don't even bother. I hardly select this tool because I'm so used to using my shortcuts like Command plus, Command minus, and use the spacebar to navigate. So try using these professional methods because it's going to speed up the workflow that much more faster and acquaint you with the application even better. All right, so I zoomed in. I'm going to use the elliptical marquee tool again. Okay, I know we're done with these elliptical marquee tools. We're going to get into the other ones very soon, I promise. But for now, just to kind of elongate on what we're doing here, I'm going to go from here. Okay, just do a quick selection, nice and perfect. Okay, I'll teach you one more step that's coming up in the next ones in case you need it now. It's going to help. You can go to select. You can do what's called transform selection, a very cool feature that got released like years ago, because then you can actually go ahead and tweak the selection if it's not perfect. You can perfect the selections, size and location and stuff like that. You can even rotate it, right? You can do lots of cool things as you normally would with the transform function. You press enter. You can still use the arrow keys to move the selection up and down and basically center it or adjust it in the appropriate location. That we're going to copy these range of pixels. See, logically, I want you to think this way. At the end of the day, we're working with pixels here. We're going to copy these pixels and paste them into a separate layer to construct the rest of the melon composition here, okay? So we're going to go ahead and copy, Control-C, Control-V, or Command-J, as the shortcut indicates. We're going to call this iris. Okay, so this is the iris, and I'm going to go use the move tool right away. Subconsciously, always get into a habit of selecting the move tool and move whatever you extracted away from the original place. Because if you don't, you're going to easily mistake saying, did it actually work? Did this work or not? The only way you'll find out is if you move it out of place. Now, you know you have a copy of the iris on top of the background. So I'm going to zoom out here, hold the space bar, move this all the way. Oh, look, I'm moving it right on top of the orange where it's supposed to go. So it's going to go right on top here. And speaking of the orange, let's get that one next, because that's going to create the eye design for the melon head. But the orange resides in the background layer. So if you click on it, you can see how it's selecting the back. Oh, just select it yourself, I think, because it's not a layer, it's selecting the background. So from the background layer, we're going to use the elliptical marquee tool again. And I'm going to show you how to do a nice cross-reference selection. And for those of you that have used Photoshop before, I want to keep you also engaged. I'm going to show you an advanced method here, selecting elliptical stuff, because you might select a record player, a CD, something that's perfectly round, and you want to get the right X and Y coordinates. Like, how do you know exactly where to position your cursor? So one quick method is if you open up the rulers under View, you can go Show. Sorry, it's actually right here. You don't have to go to View, just Rulers. View Rulers. Command R is your universal ruler shortcut. It works on Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, Mac PC. Command R is replaced with Control R. So please make sure you remember this one. You can see the rulers show up on the side and the top edges. So Command R, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and use the Move tool and move this guide right to the left edge of my target, same as the next one at the top. So basically, I trap this to the left and to the top. What that means is if I use the elliptical tool now, if I start where these two positions meet, which is the X and the Y, I'll have a lot more successful selection of getting this perfectly executed. So just by me doing this right now, you can see how perfect the selection is, thanks to my X and Y coordinates. You don't have to do this, but I wanted to share this with you. So for those of you that are kind of not new to Photoshop and you want to learn something cool and you don't know how to execute this X and Y trapping coordinate method, there it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use this elliptical selection tool on our target. And we're going to hit Command J, which is copy and paste. All right. What are we calling this one here? I. I, iris, and I. Okay. Now it's also telling us to link these two layers together because the iris and the eye will go together as one. And make sure you're in the Move tool. One way to link the layers is if you select multiple layers, two is enough. Like you gotta have a minimum of two layers to link. You can't just link one layer by itself. So here's your two layers. We're gonna right click and we're going to go to link layers. So if you right click and go to link layers, or if you go on the side panel here, and if you go to also link layers, there's no shortcut, unfortunately. You can program one if you wish, but I don't think it's necessary because I don't use link layers a lot unless it's necessary. I like to group layers and other things you can do. But let's go with link layers for now. And notice how this link option shows up. What that means is when I select and move these layers, they go together. Grouping is different. Grouping makes a folder and puts the layers in a folder and they go together sometimes. But that can get interrupted because you have auto select layer and not group turned on. So it does cause confusion to some people. So maybe this is a better way or a better approach to learn how to link layers. So now I'm going to zoom out here. We have the two layers linked, which is the iris and the eye. Now, obviously, they're behind the melon. So I'm going to have to drag them on top of the orientation of the melon head. So they're going to go right over here. It's not going to be a cyclops melon. It's going to have two eyes. So I'm going to move it to the left. I'm going to go to edit and do free transform, or just remember the shortcut Command or Control T. It'll execute the same thing. I'm going to hold Shift, or you can just resize it smaller and press Enter and position it exactly where you want it to go. And that's how we can link the two together. Now, once you're done with the positioning and the resizing of the two layers, you can ultimately right click and you can merge the layers together. Another good shortcut is Command E. Command E merges the selected layers, or you can merge the linked layers. You can also unlink the layers in case you say, you know what, I want to keep them separate, but I don't want them linked anymore. You can always unlink the layers. But in this case, a merge layers is what we need to do, just to kind of follow this handout here. Merge linked, okay, or merge layers. All right. All right, so let's go just merge layers. And that now puts these layers into one. I'm just going to rename it I instead of iris, just to keep it properly named. I'm going to teach you another important shortcut, and this one is using the Option or the Alt key on your keyboard. This is your master duplicate shortcut for, again, I'm going to reference Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, all the main Adobe programs. If you select something, if you hold Option or Alt, if you click and drag it, you're going to create a duplicate of the same thing. This is how Adobe keeps its stuff consistent throughout. So these shortcuts are pretty uniform and they work all across the other Adobe programs. So holding Option or Alt, you can create as many copies as you wish. Okay, I think 3 is a little too many, so I'm just going to press Delete and just keep these two together. Okay, so that's good. We have everything set up here. We're ready now to go to the more advanced stuff. So this was basic / intermediate. Now we're going to go from intermediate to more advanced using all the other selection methods available in order to learn how Photoshop uses all these wonderful techniques to get this done. And this skill alone is very powerful because once you learn how to do this, you can basically go ahead and make your own montages after today's lesson. So it's really cool stuff, guys, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. Let me stop for a second and ask if somebody has any questions, and then I'll continue with the nose. So let me just make sure everything's done here. All right, very good. All right, so now we're on the second page now. We're almost halfway done, actually. We've got another half to go. The nose is like the pepper and stuff, so we're going to do that next. And we're going to use the magic wand. Okay. See if I missed something here. All right. I'm going to go back to my teams here and see if anyone has any questions. Yes, Anna, go ahead if you have a question.
Could you please repeat how to link a layer and that process, like merge and everything? I lost.
No problem. No problem, Anna.
Thank
What
you.
I'm going, yeah, what I'm going to do is demonstrate that using the two eyes instead of the iris, because I already did that. I have the eye one and I have the eye two, the copy and the original. So what you want to do is if you want to, let's say I want to move one and I want both of them to move together. In this case, I did it with the blueberry and the orange. What you have to do first is select the two layers with Shift. Shift lets you select the two layers or more than two, or you can deselect, reselect the layers. So once you select the two layers together, you can then right click and link the layers, okay? If you link the layers, what happens is now the layers are, call it, I like to use the analogy group, but I got to be careful not to say group because group in Photoshop means a whole new different thing. Whereas in Illustrator, it's more like a similar effect. So linking is like grouping in a way. So they become together. The link icon shows up. That means if you deselect and just select one, the other one goes together. No matter what, they both travel together because they're both linked. Okay, and that's how we link the layers. At the same token, you can also right click. You can unlink the layers. So now they're no longer linked. And of course, you can't link a layer that's by itself. You got to select two layers, right click. So we did the link layers. And when we're finished, as we finish the blueberry in the eye, and we're done with the whole process, we can merge the layers. I can make these two together into one layer. So to do that, I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna go to merge layers. And I love using Command E as a shortcut because that one will merge the two layers into one layer. So both of these now reside in the same location. Be careful because sometimes you can undo this. Once it's merged, it's done. So you might want to do this on a cautionary level to make sure your intentions are exactly that. And then you can merge the layers once you link them or vice versa. All right. Does that answer your question, Anna? Is there any more questions?
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Good question. Very good. And is there any other questions? Okay. All right. Tell me if I'm going a little too fast, perhaps. You know, too slow. Even I'm going too slow. Let me know as well. I just want to make sure everyone is on board and following me nice and gradually. So be patient if I am going too slow, but I'm gonna be thorough. And we're making good progress so far. Now it's time to get more advanced with some of these selection tools. So the next thing we're going to use is what's in the agenda here? The nose. The nose is the pepper. So we're going to zoom in on the pepper. We're going to use the magic wand. Now, the magic wand, even when I learned Photoshop for the first time, was like one of my favorite tools. Just like the magic eraser tool, the magic wand applies on a color or a proximity of a similar pixel resemblance. Like let's say you have like a green or blue or white background, it'll select all of it at once. So it selects a range of colors. And you can control this range by using what's called a tolerance level. And the default tolerance level for the Magic One is 32. So 32 gives you a good range of colors to choose from, okay, like 32 shades of that color. So if you go like zoom in very closely, and by the way, I'm going to also stress the importance of selecting the background layer. If you're not in the background layer, you're going to have a harder time selecting the objects. Actually, it won't even work. So make sure, first and foremost, what layer are you in? So let's go to the background layer, hold the space bar, zoom in on the pepper. It even tells you here the magic wand is the next one we're focusing on. And as I said, the magic wand used to be the first tool, the first and foremost tool right here. This was, again, I'm talking like 10 years ago, right? Over time, I think they buried this tool like third because these other tools came out even with AI generation 1 and 2. These are more of Photoshop's integral selection tools that make things a lot easier. So I can't wait to show you these as well. This one's one of the newest addition. It's called the object selection tool. Really, really powerful. As a matter of fact, I can do this whole exercise using this one tool, but then that wouldn't be fun for you to learn the other stuff. So I want to teach you as much as I can. At the end of the day, you're going to make us a decision of what tool works for you. You're not gonna, it's not gonna be like you have to use the magic wand. No, you don't. You can use whatever you want as long as you get the job done. So I'm gonna show you all the array of tools. And of course, then I'll show you the easier ones that came out after to make things a lot more easier. But this one here still holds a lot of respect and value. The magic wand, and those of you that use Photoshop before, you know what I'm saying. You can just, for example, the background layer, if you click on the yellow, See, it selects all the yellow, selects the green, selects the red, right? So whatever color you select, it'll basically, or click, it'll select that shade of color. Now, more importantly, what's important is if you want to add more to this color, like I'm going to click on this darker green range. To add more color selection to your current selection, you hold shift, just like last week. Remember we shift to add to selection? Same as here, you hold shift and you keep adding more and more to the selection, right? So I'm just going to keep doing this here. And again, I know there's a better way of doing this, but let's just stick with the program here. I'm going to keep holding the shift button. And just be very patient and just click on these little pixels here. If you want to zoom in, you can see what I'm talking about. So you can just click here. If you want to hold option click, you could take away some of the pixels. With option and shift, you can add. So please remember that. That's a good little review from last week. I'm going to hold shift and add these range of pixels as well. I'm going to hold shift and add this range of pixels and this range of pixels. You can even increase the tolerance a little higher, but I want to keep it at 32, which is default. This way you have a lot more control on some of these things. Okay. And also it'll just get you used to clicking to all these different areas. So a lot of clicking, but it'll be well worth it when we're done. As you can see, I'm finished already. I maybe did like, I don't know, 20 or so clicks if I want to do the count properly. But then I have a good selection of my intended target, which is all the green pixels that are inside this pepper. Okay. So I was able to do this from the background layer. So if you're not in the background layer, this will not work for you. So please make sure you're in the background layer. Use the magic wand. We kept the tolerance at 32. The defaults are anti-alias, which means the edges are nice and smooth. Contiguous means it's constraining itself to the color that we're selecting, and we're not sampling on the layer. So everything is just kind of set up like this. All right. So once we selected the green pepper, we're ready to now go ahead and using different tolerances. So we just kept it at 32. To selection. Command J is the other shortcut again. We're going to rename it nose. And we're going to reorder the layer and position it in the melon. And we're going to save the file. So this is all we're doing for the pepper to make the nose. We're going to go back here. We're going to press Command J or copy and paste. We're going to rename this, call it nose. We're going to use the move tool. We're going to move it to a different position. I know it looks a little chopped up and rough, but when you land it on top of the melon, it should look okay. And of course, we have to orient it right on top of the melon head. So it'll be on top of the order. And maybe we can put it, we can get really strategic here. I'll put the very top. Why not? Just like that. All right. If you want to do some transforming here, we can go to Edit, Transform, or Free Transform. All right, so we can go ahead and make this smaller, larger. We can do what's called an actual, we can rotate it. To rotate it, you have to go onto the outside. You have to go to the outside edges of the bounding box to rotate it. To transform it, you just have to catch the edges. And if you click inside, you get to move it. Be careful not to click on this registration because that just offsets the target. So if you, for example, position this at the top here of the stem, when you rotate it right now, it focuses on that focal point. You see, so it's a good strategic little thing to use. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and double click or just put it in the center where it should go to by default. So I'm going to leave it there. Press enter. And this is how we set up the pepper as a nose on top of our melon head. And we're going to go to the background layer and continue with the next item up for grabs. So far, we finished doing the elliptical marquee with the orange. We did all the elliptical marquees we finished and the rectangular, and now we got into the magic wand. Okay, so the next one is going to be the bow tie pasta, and this is going to be the lasso tool. The lasso tool is very strategic. It's one of the most original tools in Photoshop. But just because it's old and it's very simple, doesn't mean it's not useful. So it's still very integral to the program. This is why it's still part of the tools. My argument always is if the tool wasn't really that important, then why is it still there? Why is it not discontinued? So Photoshop always keeps the tools for a reason. So we're going to go use the lasso tool. I'm going to show you how to use that tool in conjunction with its counterpart, which is the polygonal lasso tool. Because if you hold the mouse here, you have two lasso tools. Well, there's three, but the two that go together are this one and that one. The polygonal lasso tool works in a snap to snap point function. So you can just go like this. You can go click, so you can release the mouse, click again, click again, click again, click again, click again, and you can click where you started to get the selection. So it's a very good geometric type of tool with like different angles and selections. Whereas the lasso, oh, look, it's going crazy on me now, right? Whereas, and you can just go select, deselect just to keep it out of the way. Whereas the lasso tool works more like a freehand. So you can just hold the mouse, hope you had like 1 cup of coffee today, and you can just go ahead. As soon as you let go, it'll make a selection. So the two together are very powerful, but how do you use the two together? Because one is you got to hold the mouse the whole time. Hope you have a mouse, not a trackpad, right? And the other, you got to go, the other one, you got to go click and click and click. So if you're doing things like geometrical selections, like let's say you have to do like a building, it's nice and easy. What if this tool gets a little haywire like this? It goes like sometimes this happens and people get frustrated. It's like, oh no, how do I get to starting point? So if this happens to you and you get a little gets out of sorts and whatnot, just press the escape key on your keyboard and that should just reset it. Just be careful not to do that, okay? So just press escape and you can always switch back to the lasso tool. Now the magnetic one we'll use after, that's another important one that was added a lot later in accordance to the original lasso tools. What I'm going to do is show you how to use the lasso tool in conjunction with the polygonal lasso tool. It's very cool because I'll do this in one shot. So there's our bow tie pasta target. Let me clear these guides because they're getting on the way now. I'm going to go to view and I'm going to go to guides and clear my guides. We use that temporarily for the orange peel just to show you some more advanced tactics. So for this one, watch carefully. I'm going to use the lasso tool just to kind of quickly do the thing here. Hold down the L. So this is also the shortcut is referencing Alt Option. Okay. I know it sounds quite tedious. Okay. But all it is this. You start off with the freehand tools. You go like this, nice and freehand. I'm holding the mouse down. Look at this, nice and easy, all the way around. As soon as you get to here and your hand gets tired and you got to do these straight edges, you hold Option. Once you hold Option, you can rest your hand. See, now I can rest my hand. As long as I'm holding Option, this is locked into place. Then I can go like this. I can go click and click. I'm holding Option or Alt on the PC the whole time. I can go click and click and click and click. And now I'm getting to the round edges again. I'm going to hold Option the whole time. That's my little technique. And I'm just going to hold the mouse and trace this manually like this, you see? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hold Option again because my hand was getting tired. I'm going to go click and click and click and do it again. Click over here, click over there, click over here. This is good if the quality of the pixels is not that good. Sometimes even the more advanced tools doesn't work. This tool is very, very, very helpful because you can basically do the whole thing in one shot like I promised you. So this is an advanced technique and it's basically using both of the most traditional, effective, direct selection methods, which is the typical lasso, toggling between this one and that one using a very fancy Option or Alt shortcut. Once you do that, you can select the whole thing. You got to try this a few times. If it doesn't work the first time, try like maybe 2, 3 times. Just remember, you got to hold Option the whole time. and you get to get the feel of it. If you get lost and it doesn't work, try it again. You want me to do this again, or you're okay? Because the next thing I'll do is I'm going to copy and paste it from here, Command J, and call it bow tie. Use the move tool and move it. Whoops, wrong tool. Just press Command D or select deselect. Use the move tool and move this to the right location. If I zoom out, I'm going to put this right over here and right on top of the melon head. So basically it looks like that. All right. So let me check up on everyone. That was an advanced one, so I hope you kind of worked it out. Let me know if you need any help. Because the next thing we're going to do is the ears and the hat, and that'll involve some more advanced techniques. So once you're ready, let me know. But so far we constructed the head, the bow tie, the eye. We use linking layers, merging layers, constraining selections, using a variety of selections. The next one I'll use is the magnetic lasso tool. I want to cover everything here. And that'll be pointed on the grapefruit. It says magnetic lasso, so I'm going to use it here. Okay. So when you're ready, I'm going to do that one. But until then, I'm going to check up on you and see how you're doing so far. Yes, Rajan, you have a question? Rajan or Rajan?
Hello. Can you hear me? I have still confusion with the nose, the magic one.
Yes, well, absolutely. So what's the problem?
No, I cannot select the chili. Can you just show me quickly the way that you select and drag it from the picture?
Are you talking about the magic wand, right?
Yeah,
For the nose, for the pepper?
yeah, for the nose only.
Okay. So basically, Rajan, what you want to do is you want to make sure you're in the background layer. You have to make sure you're in the background layer, and you have to make sure you zoom in right to the pepper. You press Control Plus, right? And then you select the magic wand. You can, if you want, increase the tolerance from 32 maybe to 45. Okay, maybe make it a little more if it helps you. And then you can click inside the mid range of the green. If you hold Shift, you can select the other parts more easily, like this. See, with Shift, right? And you can just go all the way around here and select the pepper this way. And if you want to get rid of this part, you hold Option. See, Option or Shift. That's why 45 is a strong tolerance. I prefer using 32. This way I can go ahead and keep a more constrained focus on the rest of the stuff. Alrighty. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Even if it's like this, it's fine. We're just doing a little exercise here. Okay, so try using that and make sure you're in the background there using the magic wand, and then you just copy and paste, and then you move it into place. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now don't worry because I'll show you other methods that might work even better. But for this one, honestly, the magic wand seems to be working very good because of the way it's situated. All right. Any more questions?
Yeah. Sir,
Yeah.
how do you switch from a polygon lasso tool to the
Okay, good one. I figured I was waiting for you to ask this, so I'm glad you're asking. So I'm gonna do this one more time, okay? Because this is not. If I was doing this for the first time, it'll probably take me a few times to get it straight. Can you turn off your mics now, just so I can not hear myself as an echo? Thank you. So first, I'll start with the lasso tool. Make sure I'm in the background there. As we all know, the lasso tool works like this. See, freehand. I mean, no matter how good I am with the mouse, and I have a pretty good mouse, I can't get this perfect. Okay, it's not gonna work. You see what I mean? It's not gonna help me here. No way. And you can't. You got to do it one shot. You can't. There's no second chances. So the trick is to use the combination of this one and this one together. How? By using the Option key. So I prefer to start somewhere here like this. Okay. and then I hold Option. Now I can rest my hand and go like click and click and click and click and click. Now I'm holding Option the whole time, or Alt if you have a PC, Alt or Option. Now if you want to get to the curves, you can go click, hold the mouse and keep going, and let go of the mouse, pressing Option the whole time. Then it gives you the flexibility to do this and this and this. I'm just clicking. I'm holding Option or Alt the whole time I'm doing this. Okay, and now I'm going to get to the curve part. I'm just going to press the mouse and follow with my hand like this. Let go again, all the way here, click the mouse again, over here, click and drag the mouse, click and drag the mouse, click over here. Don't worry if you make a mistake, you can do it again. This is a good little challenge because it'll really make you appreciate how this method works. It's really, really compact and really, helpful with getting all these little quick selection methods. No fancy stuff. I will teach you some other fancy methods in the future, of course, but like we're gonna do quick masking. I'm gonna show you how to quick mask, and that's using a brush method. But why, when you can just do something fast and quick using a very cool selection trick with the magic, with the lasso in conjunction with the polygonal lasso by holding Option, right? And if you make a mistake, press Escape, deselect, do it again, again. Do this 5 times. I promise you, you're going to get that much better at using this tool. At least 5 times. Just like anything else, repetition is the key. And of course, when it's done, you press Command J or copy and paste, go to the Move tool, and you can move the other copy over there. Okay, I'm just going to delete it because I think I like the first one better. All right. Any other good questions? Because those were good questions, and I'm happy you asked me. That means you're really following me and you're trying your hardest to get this done, because that's why we're here. So let me know if there's any other good questions. Okay, Rojan, you have a question, or your hands up from before? I think you just left your hand up. No problem. All right, so I'm just going to keep on going here. Unless you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm going to continue. So now we get into the other important stuff. So the ears, we're going to use the magnetic lasso tool, which is under the lasso tool, the one I just demonstrated again. We're going to click once in the lower left corner of the red flesh, release the mouse. We're going to begin tracing. We're going to do Command J after. We're going to do a free transform. We're going to rotate it. We're going to duplicate it. We're going to flip it. We're going to make a new layer and position it and save it. So we're going to do lots of cool things here with the ear and using a new method called the magnetic lasso tool. So far, we use the magic wand. So far, we use the elliptical, the rectangular. Now we're using all the lasso tools. And lastly, we'll get into the quick selection tool and the object selection tool at the very end. And this will cover all the selection tools in Photoshop that are available right now for 2024. Okay, so we're going to go to the magnetic lasso tool. I make a joke when I say this. I go, get your loose change out of your pockets, please, because this magnet is really, really strong. So make sure you're in the background layer. Make sure you have the magnetic lasso tool. You can click inside the red fleshy part here. Just click and just follow your mouse. Just click. You can click whenever you feel like it. I like to click when there's these little breaks right here. Like you can click anytime you want. Like you can click here. And just basically AI is built into the software, and it follows the actual edges of the contrast between the pixels. This is before ChatGPT came out, by the way. This is Photoshop's internal AI, okay? This is how it works. It's really, really smart. Okay, I'm gonna go like this. Click. I'm just following my hand here. When I get here, just click and closes the selection. Very clever, very smart. using a very pinpoint precision pixel selecting method. The magnetic lasso tool picks up the contrast between the pixels. It differentiates, basically this burgundy, bright orange, blood red, in contrast to the whiter pixels here, the yellowy pixels. And by you just following this and clicking, I clicked about 10 times, and I was able to surround the whole thing. This works perfect when it comes to situations like these, when you have to select pixels from other pixels, and there's quite the difference between the two. And now I'm able to do, copy and paste or Command J this selection to a new layer. I'm going to call this ear or ear 01, right? I'm going to use the move tool and move this ear over to the side. I'm going to use the shortcut Command or Control T. Under Edit, you can do what's called free transform. You can do this. You can resize. So don't forget, you can resize. You can squish and rotate the ear at any given time. You can put it in front of the head. I think behind the head looks good too, so put it behind. All right, so let me just check up on everyone, see how everyone's doing. Because the next step is we're going to flip the ear horizontally to copy the other ear. Because with the eye, we don't have to do that. But for the ear, we do have to do a flip duplicate. So before I do that, I want to make sure everyone is okay. So I'm going to go back and check up on you. All right. I should go on my other little thing here, bubble. Okay. Alrighty, just gonna lower his hand. All right, so any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, very good. Please don't, feel shy if you have a question. I know you're not, but just in case, I want to encourage all of you. This is our time together here to do this, so we're gonna have fun while we learn the software, and we're gonna do lots of important things. Okay, so now that I have the ear one over here, I'm gonna duplicate it to the other side. I know before I was very, adamant about showing option drag, which is duplicate. It's fine. But to show you another way to do it is you can right click and you can do what's called, duplicate layer. Okay, right here, duplicate layer. So that also works. And you can just rename it. So ear one copy, for example, or you can call it ear two instead of ear one. And that just creates a duplicate in the same position, which means you have to be consciously aware that you have to move it in order to see the duplicate. Otherwise, you won't see it because it's right on top of one another. All right. I just prefer like option drag. It's so much easier, alt or option drag, because it works in all the programs. And you can just come here and just rename it, ear two, and that'll do the trick. Now, ear two is going to go on the other side. So I'm going to drag it all the way here, and I'm going to flip it horizontally so it looks in somewhat of like a mirroring image of the original. And that's how it looks like the isometric flip. In order to get that to work properly, I'm going to go to the Edit menu, Transform, and I'm going to do what's called on the bottom here, Flip Horizontal. I mean, you could rotate it, 180 degrees to do that, but it might look not natural if it's like something more realistic. So flipping is more effective in this case than just rotating it, right? So you can do flip horizontal, then it'll do just that. And of course, then you can position it, and then you can still do, edit, free transform, and you can do, more rotation if needed or less rotation, just to keep it aligned together with the location that it's at. Okay, so you can do a little bit of this and that, and eventually we're going to move on to the next part. So there's our two ears, ear one, ear two, ear one is here. We have the head in the back. And then we have the bow tie. We use the combination of the lasso tools there, the regular lasso and the polygonal lasso. Then we have the eyes with the iris that we put together using linked layers and other selection methods. The mouth, we did a squish transform. The nose, we use different tolerances with the magic wand to select different shades of green and extracting that and putting in position. So basically, all in all, we covered a lot of the important fundamentals of the software, which is very important to learn Photoshop. So more importantly now, I still want to cover these other tools because we covered all the lasso tools so far. We covered all the other basic selection tools from last week. We, basically transitioned to this week and expanding more on our learning knowledge. And now we're going to go back to this magic wand because I want to cover the quick selection tool. So the quick selection tool came out about I want to say about a decade ago, if I'm not right mistaken. So the quick selection tool, I know this one here says for us to use the quick mask tool. Okay, we're not going to do masking, quick mask. Instead of that, I'll use the quick selection tool. It's like a quick mask, but not really. I'd rather save the mask for like a proper exercise. So I'm going to show you that later. So just please remember that we're not using quick masking for this exercise. I'm going to keep it conventional and simple and to show you all the important things. So rather than that, and this tool came out after this handout. So notice how these two tools are missed, which is a perfect opportunity for me to introduce them right now. So lo and behold, go back where the magic wand is, but click on the quick selection tool instead. So click on this tool, make sure you're in the background layer, zoom into the mushroom, and we're going to use the quick mask for this, which is the substitute for quick selection tool instead of the quick mask. Okay. So go ahead and make the brush size, by the way. How do you make the brush size bigger and smaller? Over here, you have the value of 40 because this works like a brush method. I want you to keep it to 30. So 30 pixel brush size, and this should be adequate for you to get this mushroom selection going, okay? So 30 pixels, okay? Right? Another, I'm going to teach you another important trick, this 30 pixel size. All right, so what I want you to do here is hold the, make sure caps lock is not on. If it is, you won't see the radius of your brush size. So caps lock on your keyboard should be off, first and foremost. Second, make sure you're looking at your keyboard where the letter P, there's two square brackets or the squiggly brackets for JavaScript if you do the HTML and CSS stuff. So the two square brackets or the squiggly, um, the curly brace brackets, that's what they call them as well. So those two brackets, what it does is makes the brush size bigger or smaller. It goes by increments of 5 pixels. See 35, look, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 70. It goes by tens when you get to the higher numbers, but it's a good way for you to control the brush size. In this case, we're going to target on the mushroom here. We're going to keep our brush size, and I'm down to 35 now, which is good. So 35, the background layer is selected, and I have the infamous quick selection tool. One of my favorite tools, actually, I must say this one here. It's so easy. I mean, all the tools are good, but just how you use them and when you use them for, okay? So basically, that's why you want to be able to do that. So once my tip for you is not to click here. If you do, you're gonna catch the yellow, right? So I'm gonna press Command D. You wanna click in the midtones. Like look, evaluate the colors. I see a lot of yellow here, brownish yellow, khaki colors. This is the too dark colors. You don't wanna click over here either, it'll get that part, right? I'm just gonna press Command D. What I'm doing here is I'm pressing, deselect, Command D to deselect. I would start in the center here somewhere because that's where the darker pixels meet the lighter pixels. So if you click around here somewhere once, one click is all it takes. You're gonna select a good range of selection. With that, I'm just gonna go click right on top of it once, 2 clicks, done, just like that. If I was to do this with the magic wand, I would have to go, click, shift, select, right? I mean, I can still do it, but it's a lot more work involved. Whereas if I did this tool, it's a lot more faster. Now for the pepper, it might have not worked. See, the pepper doesn't work. It's a little more tedious. Well, you have to use the magic wand. For this one, you just simply click in the middle. If you click again here, or over here, maybe 3 clicks, 2, 3 clicks, it'll get the job done. Other times you have to literally click and drag the mouse in different positions to get this to work as well. Okay. So basically, sometimes you have to click and drag. I like to just go click, click. If you go click and drag, that works too. That took me like half a second, but I prefer to do it methodically so you can kind of grasp the notion. So if you click here, click over here, done. Okay, and that's nice and easy. That's using the quick selection tool instead of the quick mask tool. It's kind of the same thing, but it works more, hands-on. So now you do Command J, which is copy and paste. I'm going to rename this layer hats. I'm going to drag the move tool, whoops, and move the hat out of the way. I missed a few spots over here. Not to worry, I'm going to use the good old trusty eraser tool, which is right, the good old eraser tool. Nothing wrong with using the eraser tool. You can just fix things up a little bit, right? Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you don't overdo it, right? And there's the hat layer. I'm going to put it right over here. Maybe I should put it on top of the head like this, so it looks like it's stemming out. Okay. There we go. And if we want to do a little, edit transform or free transform, we can squish it a bit, and we can do a nice little tilt. All right, so make it look maybe styly, and then press enter again. And now we've utilized the quick selection tool instead of the quick mask tool to get this done just as effectively, if not better, for this exercise. And the last thing to do here is to basically crop it, save it, and call it a finished version, and we're done with the exercise. But I still want to elaborate more on some other important tools, like this other one that came out after the handout. It's called the object selection tool. And if you're wondering, we never even used this one yet. So it's a perfect opportunity for me to utilize this other powerful tool for this radish that's left over on the bottom. If you notice, that one says rectangular marquee and the magic wand. So what the heck does that mean? Well, that means if you go in the background layer, I'll teach you both methods, okay? This method was out before this tool came into existence. So if I was to do this, traditionally, and notice what happens when I roll over it. Look, it even selects. That's how smart AI is with Photoshop. It even gets better now with the new AI technology. It recognizes this exactly. You can just go ahead and just go click. It's going to select it for you. See? Very, very powerful stuff. Now, traditionally, this is what it's saying: rectangular, marquee, and magic wand. Good to know all these methods because sometimes you might have to, switch it up a bit, right? So if I use the rectangular marquee tool, watch this. Rectangular marquee tool, right? I've selected my target. I'm in the background layer. You don't have to do this, just watch me. And then I switch it to the magic wand. We all know that shift adds and option subtracts. If I go inside the bounding box and if I hold option, if I subtract this white area, from this rectangular selection. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to contract to the pixels that are on the edges, which gives me a perfect solution selection. So that's what this is referring to. So you have a rectangular selection and you switch from rectangle to magic wand. So you're kind of using a variety of tools together, and you're holding option and you're clicking on the edges to condense the selection. This is a super advanced trick and it works really well. But like I said, this is a new tool here that came out. It's called the object selection tool. I love this one because all you do is this. I love to use it this way too, not just point and click, but watch this. You can go ahead and make a selection if you want, like this. Make a selection. As soon as you let go, it does the same thing. It goes inside the target. See, Photoshop's using its AI built-in capability to understand what you're trying to do. It's saying, okay, this person obviously doesn't want the white background, so it's going to condense to the pixels. And that's how we get this done. So that covers all the tools now with this last thing that just demonstrated on how to get this thing all set up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go copy and paste or Command J, use the move tool, and move this radish all the way here. Perhaps I would call this the eyebrow, okay? And the eyebrow is going to be on top of the head layer. I'm going to move it over here somewhere. It's got a little bit of white there. Maybe I can get rid of that. This is where the magic wand comes nice and handy. Watch this. Magic wand. Simply go click, delete, click here, delete, okay? Okay, so you can just clean it up a bit. Okay. Deselect. Now we got a nice clean radish selection here. I'm also going to do Command or Control T to like rotate this a bit. Put it in the right position. Press Enter. Zoom out. Right. And I'm going to copy and paste this on the other side. Just like I did with the ears, I'm going to go Option Drag to duplicate. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, a good little review, and pop this back into its own place there that it's supposed to be. And this is how it's going to look. Make it a little smaller if I want, or vice versa. And now I have my own version of this beautiful, healthy looking watermelon / vegetable head. Used to be Mr. Potato Head. We used to go and get potato head parts and put it together, but I think this one took over because it's pretty comprehensive. It has a lot of different tools that we utilized, as well as the nice, beautiful PDF I have set up for you. So you can kind of follow these steps and get this done. All right. All right, so there we have it. I'm going to close this down now. The last thing is to crop this. Well, this is work in progress. I'm going to go File, Save. Right? We're saving the Photoshop work file. And let me just pause and ask questions first if you have any, because then I want to show you how to crop this and save it again and whatnot, right? So look at all the different layers we came up with. Very impressive. Over a dozen layers almost. And then I'm going to now crop it and resave this file into my desktop. I also want to see what you did. So, you know, I like to keep track of everyone's progress. So I'm going to have another discussion today, and I'm going to have that uploaded on the channel, and you can upload your PNG version, or actually we'll do a JPEG. No, we'll do a PNG because we'll keep the background transparent. I want to make sure you know how to save a transparent image over a JPEG image. I want to teach you the difference. Very important for like web design and things like that, to optimize images for websites and other reasons. So I'm going to maybe cover that as well because we have extra time. Sometimes these lessons go a little quicker than allotted into our schedule. And when we're done, the rest of the time that we have left over, you can, you know, finish your work and assignments and catch up on some other things, whether it's the classroom or we're doing the virtual class online. All right, this is asking me for a software update, so I'm going to do that later. Okay, no questions? Okay, very good. So then in that case, let me just finish this with the crop technique. So I'm going to use the crop tool, everybody. This is the crop tool. What the crop tool does is very infamous. It just resizes the documents to a crop form. You can go like this and like that. You can even do a rotate, okay? That's a new added feature they did versions ago. Press enter, and all the layers are still intact, you see? At this point, I want to save this as a finished file. So I'm going to go save as. So this is like my third file now. First, I have the start, I have working, and this is going to be called finished or done. How about done? D-O-N-E. And I'll save it as a Photoshop native format. That means it'll save it as that exact name under done. But if I want to share my creation with the rest of the world now, just like we did last week we did a JPEG, I believe, with the abstract design. For this one, I want to keep it nice and transparent. I don't want this white background. See, we did a special job with this to make it transparent. All we really have to do with all the selection methods that we utilized, all we have to do is go to this background layer, delete it, get rid of it basically, and you'll see the checkers remain. The checkers represent the transparency. So what happens is here, we have a transparent layer. Okay, so everything is sitting on top of a transparent background, which means if we save it as a PNG file, we can have the option to have the transparency enabled. So if you put this up on a website, you will have a transparent background, which is really cool. The difference between white and transparent backgrounds means a lot. Let's say you go on the internet and you want to find like a logo of some kind. Let's say we're looking for, I don't know, a Nike logo, right? Let's say we're looking for a Nike logo. And I go under images, okay, and I get this logo here, right? So if I copy this logo, right, copy this image or save it and place it, and go to Photoshop here and paste the logo, so we're doing a Nike promotion here with this melon extra size. All right, let's want to put a Nike logo on the hat. He's got the Nike hat on the chef. See, the problem is he's got this white background. So the thing is, transparent backgrounds are really good when you want to put like logos and emblems on things. I'll teach you another method next week or the week after, how to get rid of backgrounds by controlling a different blend mode. Like if I go to multiply here or darken, it'll get rid of that nicely. See, multiply works well. But besides that, sometimes that doesn't always work. What I'm trying to show you here is even the internet, you can get transparent images. Like if I get this one here, this one is a fake transparent image. How do you know? If you drag it, you can see the checkers with it, right? If I click on this logo here, look, this one also has a white background. This one has a black background. They all have a background. Now, if I type in Nike logo space PNG, portable network graphic format. JPEG stands for Joint Photographic Export Group. There's two separate formats that are known for the internet, but PNG will give you just that. So this PNG here now, I think this also is not a transparent layer. I think Nike is just stingy. They're not giving you a transparent logo. But this one is, look, this one is, see? Oops. Yeah, this one is. You see this one? It's got the transparency. Sometimes you can't tell. You have to literally drag it. When I drag it and I see this, I know it's transparent. So that means if I copy this image now, I go back to Photoshop and I paste it, I know I'm getting a transparent image, you see? So if you're gonna do the same thing with this creation and design, post it on the internet and put it like on top of the background to keep it transparent and accessible to the rest of the world and the internet community, you have to post it as that. That's why the difference between JPEG and PNG is very important. JPEG gives you a white background. A PNG gives you a white background or a transparent background. So what I'm getting at is basically how do you say this is a PNG? So now that we saved it as done, right? And I want you to upload this once you're done on the design discussion that I'm going to make after we finish this exercise. So you're going to go to File, okay? Click on Photoshop first. Save As, all right? You're going to click on the Photoshop format here. Oh, because it is a working file, it's not going to give me the other formats. So what I'm going to do, well, you could also do this. You can save a copy and then get the format you want, right? PNG, there it is. But instead of you doing all these steps, just remember, if it's a special web format, what you want to do is you want to do what's called save a copy. Save a copy gives you more formats than save as. Save as gives you all the important ones like Photoshop, PDF, large format, and TIFF. TIFF was a very powerful format for printing back in the day. It stands for tagged image file format, and it was good for print resolution. Right now, you can just save as a Photoshop file. TIFFs are still important. When you scan an image using those high resolution drum scanners, they still produce TIFFs. So that's why it's a very important format for print. But if you want to do like a web format and something you can put on social media, you're better off doing save a copy. So save a copy, Photoshop gives you all the other array of formats available. In this case, you have, look, you have your bitmap, EPS, GIF, if you do an animation, JPEG 2000. I just stick with the normal JPEG. These are not really necessary. They're more like auxiliary formats, but there's the PNG that I'm looking for. So you got to hunt for it. But once you find it, you know it's there. You can do what's called a PNG. All right. So it's going to be a PNG extension of the done copy file. That's fine. Hit the save button. Keep it large. That's fine. Now it should be transparent. I didn't see the option for transparency, which is weird. Usually it shows up. All right. If it doesn't, I have an alternative version. This is just like a quick save PNG version. The other one I'm going to teach you with near the end of the semester when we do like a web page in Photoshop mockup is you're going to do what's called export save for web. Now this one gives you a more expanded optimized version because if you select the PNG from here, you have 8 and 24-bit and there's the transparency on and off you can control. Okay. But I think I'm going to trust my original version I just saved, and it should be good. I'll just double check now. And if not, I'll just save it again. That's fine. All right, so let's go ahead and check that up. Other than that, we're done with this particular exercise. Hope you guys had fun. I'm gonna just put this one away now because I already saved the Photoshop file. Might as well save it one more time. Sure, no problem. Now I'm gonna go into my lesson folder here, selections folder. Under my start selection folder, there's my Photoshop file, there's my work file. Notice how it has a white background, and the PNG is transparent, just like I expected. Because you can tell it's transparent by simply clicking on the file. And I'm using the space bar. It's a short little preview method. You can see how this is nice and transparent. So that means whoever gets this from the internet, it'll be a you can put this on top of a different background and have like some kind of character animation thing, whatever you want to have fun with, this will work. All right, so the PNG is good to go. I'm going to option drag it here just to have another copy. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this file here. I'm going to call this class 2 selections. All right, and next week we're going to dive into these other folders. We're going to work with more advanced selection methods. Then we're going to use advanced cropping and transforming techniques. And then we're going to reconstruct this photo together next week. I'll teach you some CSI stuff that the police tactics used to reconstruct evidence and stuff. So we're going to use that next week. And it's a good review to learn all the selection methods to put things back together. And that'll wrap up our selection um, module. And then we'll get into more advanced layers and all the other advanced stuff Photoshop has to offer. And with that, of course, assignments and projects. So you have lots of fun and lots of, um, a variety of things to apply these skills on. All right, so now that we save this, right, what I want you to do now is upload it onto Blackboard. I'm going to create another little another class discussion. This is an abstract exercise challenge. So today I'm going to make one that's going to be called, wait for it. I'm going to call this one melon exercise selections. And it was beyond selections. We also use layers, but we focus mainly on selections. That's why that's the name. And this is where we upload our progress just to kind of see where everyone is at. I like to gauge where your level is. And if I see a lot of you do this with me, that gives me great confidence in, what I'm doing and you guys following me with this class. And if you haven't done it, I mean, I do encourage you to do it just when you get a chance, just to show to me that you're on top of this module and we're making great progress moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and add an image right now. Hit the return key, and you can respond to this when I make it visible. I'm going to go to the image here. Look, just like we did last week, except this time is the PNG file. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click next, and I'm going to click next again. And this should be up and running here. Save it. And I'm going to hit post and save. All right, so I'm going to await your response, and I want to see what everyone did. I'm sure it's going to look different than mine. Whether the nose is bigger, smaller, the eyes, the mouth. It always get interesting, different examples from my students. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'll refresh this in a moment. Again, I want to make this visible. So it's visible for you now before. So now if you refresh this page, just hit the refresh button. You should be able to click on this melon selections exercise, then upload your melon here under the response, just like we did last week. Okay. And that's there. So again, just a quick reminder, your first assignment is due tonight. Usually I put on midnight in case you have to finish it the day of, and if you have to ask me any questions, this is what I'm here for. And you can always upload it there. You simply go to your calendar or go to your the due date. See this one here. Click on the exercise and simply submit it here. Click on upload and just put the Photoshop file in there. It should be good to go. All right. And I have a question. There's 6 submissions already, so I can see everyone is working out. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about that assignment. So we have to do something similar to the one we did last week.
Yeah, or you can just do something different. As long as you demonstrate the selection methods and the colors and stuff, you can make it look different. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, if it's easy, just follow what I did, but it'll look different anyways, because you're going to put different colors, different selections. You can follow me step by step and it'll still look different than what it does, because if you see here the examples, and I did this by gauging what my students did. So if you see here from last week's module, a lot of people did the same thing I did and looked really good. So even if you happen to be one of these students, this is acceptable. This is beautiful. So if you hand this in, you're good. Okay. So you can do this or you can do something else. It's up to you. This is very good. Okay. I just like to see something is similar. That's fine. All right. Any other good questions?
Sorry, we upload as PNG the melon face or as.
Yeah, the PNG. Yeah, this way it's nice and transparent like this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And this is not gonna be marked. So if you don't do this, you're not gonna get or lose marks. But again, I gotta keep track of everyone, so it's good that to see that you're engaged and it, shows me your participation level in the class as well. So I do encourage everyone to follow me along and do the exercise and stuff. Okay.
Uh, Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Actually, I missed the last class. So, is there any video or reference there I can like do it
Yes.
or like?
What I'm
Yeah.
gonna do, and I apologize, is Serbi, right? Is it Serbi?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I will upload the video tonight. Okay, so you can watch it, and I'll give you an extension. You can hand it in tomorrow if you want. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
So you are gonna upload it where on the
I'm
board?
I'm gonna create a YouTube channel, and you can access the video. You know what? Why don't I do this? Because I'm recording these lessons. They're the same as last semester. Do you guys want access to my other class I taught last semester? It's the same thing. I'm just repeating it. The only difference is like your questions, and sometimes I do switch it up a little bit, but I usually stick with my script because it's part of my, course outline and stuff. So I don't do that much different. Because of the urgency, I'll give you access to the YouTube channel and you can watch that video from week 1, okay?
Okay.
Or I'll just save
Mm.
this one, put it there. Whichever way I'm gonna make an announcement later and do that, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Deepali, go ahead.
So this abstract project, do we need to make a new one or is it the same one that we posted on discussion?
You can use the same one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Having said that, I'm gonna get to that right now. I'm gonna stop this recording now, stop sharing my screen, and I'm gonna work on that channel. So having said that, if you're watching this video, I hope you had fun. This is our second class, and we're gonna move on to the third class next week. As time progresses, we're gonna have lots of fun and learn a lot of Photoshop. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.